Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Now today, as you can see by the setup we have right here on my desk, we're going to be going back to, once again, the $5 Windows 98 PC. We're going to be doing another video with this. I've done many videos on this computer in the past, and today we're going to be taking a look at another viewer request by Hank717 on OS Forums. He messaged me a while ago and asked me to take a look at something called Caldera OpenLinux, which as far as I know, is a pretty early Linux distribution that was actually designed for a business-oriented environment. And this distribution is from 1997, but the version I have here is version 2.3, and that is from 1999. And so this will be pretty cool to kind of see how Linux was in the early 90s, or in the late 90s, I should say. And yeah, we're just going to be, checking it out on this 98 PC. I just kind of figured because this is from the late 90s and this computer is also from the late 90s / early 2000s, it seemed like a perfect fit. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I will leave the download link to this down below. It is actually currently hosted on archive.org. So if you guys want to go ahead and actually check this out for yourselves, you can do that with that link down below. So we're going to go ahead and just pop the disk into the drive right here. We'll go ahead and do that really. Oh, there's a disk. Oh, look at that. There's a disk already in here from the this is the Windows 98 unattended boot CD. So we've got that disk. We've got another blank disk that has OpenLinux on it. So we're gonna go ahead and pop that in and see what happens. So something very interesting about this Linux distro is you actually had to pay for it. This was sold on store shelves, which is very unlike Linux distros today, as they're all, pretty much free for the most part. We got this thing that came up that says Demo Shield. Demo is designed for 256 colors. So let's see what this demo is. I guess this is like a demo of OpenLinux. Oh, so this looks like yeah. So it says OpenLinux 2.3 installation. So we've got, the stuff isn't really displaying like I believe it should, and that's just because we're in I think we're in a pretty low color mode on this. So let's just go ahead and click on install products. And so at this screen it kind of gives you some more info about it. And yeah, it says right down here, please note if you have purchased the box version of OpenLinux 2.3, you did actually have to pay for this. This was not free, which is kind of interesting. So we're going to go ahead and just launch the Linux install. You could create floppy install diskettes, but there's not really any need to do that because we're just going to go ahead and do this from the CD. So it came up with this DOS install box, and it says this program is set to run in MS-DOS mode and cannot run while the other programs are running. All other programs will close if you choose to continue. Do you want to continue? Yes. So yeah, it's going to go ahead and log us out of Windows. And okay, so it asks us to insert the OpenLinux CD. We have that inserted, so we'll go ahead and press the spacebar, and it went ahead and started copying some stuff over. So here we are. Oh, look at that, we got a kernel panic. VFS unable to mount root FS on 804. So that is interesting. Let's go ahead and try to restart it. Can we go do a Control-Alt-Delete? Yeah, let's go ahead and just try to restart it and have it boot from the CD directly. Something may have happened with Windows there. It was freaking out. Okay, here we go. So we are now in the text-based installer. I'm not sure. So you can see that the copyright date there is 1994 to 1999. And we're back here at the same screen. So, okay, so now we got a OK on both of them. So that works. So basically, I guess if you try to install it from within like the Windows environment with the Windows loaded, it can have some issues. So maybe those were the issues that Hank was having. I'm not sure, but because he said he was trying to do it in a VM and it wasn't working, he was having some issues. So that's why I was like, well, we can go ahead and try it on real hardware here from this era, which is pretty awesome. So it should work 100%. So we got this nice little intro video here. It says Caldera. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, Caldera. I'm not sure. But yeah, so here we are at the language selection screen. And okay, so it asks us to set up a mouse. We're using a PS2 mouse, so it's got that correct. Standard. We'll go ahead and do standard without wheel because I'm not sure what. This is just like an HP mouse, as you can see there. So it's not anything. This mouse is from like 2008, I believe, so it's a little bit newer. So it's probably not going to show up in here. So we don't really need to have the scroll wheel. So We'll just do standard without wheel, and test mouse here, so you can see when I left click and right click, those things work. Oh, and the center button, okay, cool. So the center button works too, so it's been able to get that to work. So we'll go ahead and click on next, and we're using I guess just a generic, I think this is a 101, let's just do 101, and we're with the US English layout, so click next there. I believe the graphics chip in this is just like an Intel unknown. I think it is just Intel integrated. So as you can see, you can enter the details of your card here, or you can probe for the values. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll make it a little bit easier. So it came up with this box that says, while probing for the correct video card amount of memory and video mode clocks, the screen will briefly turn black as it's switching video mode. So it should take about 5 seconds. Let's go ahead and click probe. Probing is complete and apparently successful. Okay, so we've got our values in there. They look, the same. So I guess it had those selected correctly. So we'll go ahead and click next. And the monitor, it has a 1280 by 1024. This is actually a 1080p monitor. So I don't believe 1080p was really around in the late 90s. So we'll just go with 1280 by 1024. And leave all these at their default values. So we have a like the one disk selected, which is the 80 gig drive that's in here, and it says currently used for DOS/Windows. So we're going to go ahead and click on prepare selected disk for Linux, and we'll see how long this takes. I don't know if this is going to like format it and get it ready, or if it's just, I mean, I guess it is going to have to format it, because it's going to have to change it over to from the FAT file system to whatever file system they're using. Alright, so we are back, and we're at the select installation screen now, and I think I was pressing enter to advance to the next screen, and I think I accidentally pressed it twice, so it started with the standard installation. I wanted to do all packages, but the standard install should have most things that you would be using on the system in 1999 when this came out. So yeah, so let's just go ahead and click on next, move on to the next screen. And kind of interestingly, very much like a modern Linux install, it's having you choose all these options up here, like typing in your root password, and it should ask us for like our username and our time zone and that sort of stuff, while it is installing the packages down here. So you can see at the bottom left here, it's got this progress bar, and I can hear the CD drive spinning, and it's actually copying stuff to the hard drive. The hard drive light is blinking. So at the next screen here, the default name is Caldera OpenLinux user. We're going to just change that to Michael, and the login name will be Michael. Password, I think we have to put one in because the next button is blurred out. So the password, Michael. There we go. And okay, so what's kind of cool about this? Let me just click on Add User here. And you can see that my user account has been added here. Because this is intended for use in a business environment, this is definitely something really helpful. So what this is basically is you can add as many user accounts as you want, all from this one screen. So what's cool about that is, because if you were using this in a business environment, which is kind of its intended use, you'd probably have a lot of people using one machine. So the system administrator could just set up all of those accounts here and specify their password and all of their info right here without having to do it later on and kind of have to go through a much longer process. You can set it all up right here, which is pretty nice. So now we're presented with setup networking. So we're not going to be using networking on this because there's no Ethernet connection that is available to it right now. So we're going to go ahead and just click on no Ethernet, and we'll leave the host name as no name, no domain, nowhere, and just click on next. So yeah, like I was saying, this is pretty much like a modern, I mean, it's not exactly, like a new Ubuntu or Linux Mint install, but it kind of has the same elements. I mean, you can literally, look, we can even mouse over all these different locations here instead of having to go through this list. So this is pretty cool. So there's definitely some early Linux, or not early Linux, but like some modern Linux aspects that are in here. So that basically means that, yeah, a lot of later Linux distros kind of took inspiration from this, I guess, when they were, I guess, going through this install process. So that's pretty awesome. We'll go ahead and choose the New York time zone. We'll leave it at GMT, that's fine, and click on next. Okay, so this is pretty cool right here. This is definitely not something that modern Linux distros do. We have some entertainment right here. And this looks like, is this Tetris? Yeah, this is literally Tetris right here. So we can go ahead and play a game of Tetris while it's installing. This is something that not a lot of Linux distros do. At least I haven't seen one. I'm sure there's one out there. I know that when I took a look at Last XP, they did something like this. Alright, so the post install has finished up. It's at 100%, and we can now click on the finish button. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And alright, the screen went black, and now it is back on the system startup in progress thing. And it is preparing to boot into the new system. So here we go. This is, I guess, the boot screen, somewhat of a boot screen where it's kind of, just going through and telling you what it's doing. And this is also useful because if something failed here, you can see where it, like where it got stuck on, so you could more easily figure out, what the issue with the computer is. So that is cool. I'm not sure if this is only done for like the first boot and then it goes to like a more traditional style boot screen, but it's still pretty cool. So it's waiting on checking file systems. Okay, so it did fail on checking file systems, and now is asking us at the top there to give root password for maintenance or type Control-D for normal startup. Alright, so a total change of plans. Basically what ended up happening was OpenLinux was not wanting to start on the 98 PC. So I tried a few different other methods in actually getting it to work. I tried it on a Dell Inspiron 1100 laptop, and it wouldn't install on that. Then I tried to install it in a VM on my host computer here in both VMware and VirtualBox. That didn't work. So then I basically, I got it working, as you can see, but it's running in a virtual machine within a virtual machine. So this is being emulated on Microsoft Virtual PC 2007, running on Windows XP, actually last XP, which is kind of funny, and I'm emulating that in VMware Workstation on my main computer. So there's like all these different layers going on here, but it actually worked. So you can see here we're at the Caldera OpenLinux home, or the login screen, and we've got our login and password. So the login name, I just did the regular Caldera, which is just the short name is Cal, and the password is 123451s. And then it allows us to choose a session type, either KDE or failsafe. So we're going to try KDE first. Login failed. Okay, let's just do root, and then okay, there we go. So it let us log in with the root password. And so yeah, this is logging into Caldera OpenLinux. We're going to actually be able to see what this is like. I didn't think this was going to work. So some interesting things happen here. We got a file browser that came up, and then we got this like wizard dude back here, and the K desktop environment. Welcome to the KDE. My name is Kendolf, and I will guide you through the first steps of this new and astonishing desktop experience. For a start, you'll be able, so they have like a mascot or something. I didn't know KDE had a mascot, but I guess that's what this is. This is a really early version of KDE, which is still around today, and it's still used in a lot of Linux distros. But I guess this is where, I don't know if it got its start here, or if it's, or this is like one of the first implementations of it. But yeah, that is pretty cool. So we've got, this is like the file browser here. And we've got, sorry that everything is so like crammed in. I am pretty much running this at 640. I don't even know if it is 640 by 40. It's a pretty low resolution. But yeah, so let's go to help about here and see. So KDE desktop environment was written by the KDE team, a worldwide network of software engineers committed to free software development. Visit kde.org. So yeah, this is totally the same people that made KDE. This is just a super early version of it. So alright, so I was able to resize the virtual machine window so you can actually see this bar up here now. So from what I'm getting from this interface so far, this appears kind of like the taskbar where all of your programs will minimize to. So if I go ahead and click on that, you see that the window minimizes up there. And the bottom here is kind of like your start menu / your utility bar. So if you click on the K down here, it opens up like a menu, so you can go through and see all your different applications. They're all separated into different categories. And we've got some other things here. This is looks like a settings panel. So you can go through and kind of modify your hardware and, or, like view your hardware, configure them, and you've got like a few different options in there. This one is the KDE Control Center. We'll take a look at that in a minute. We've got like some help documents here, and this over here is pretty cool. This is like a desktop switcher. So even in like the late 90s, this was still a thing, or this was, I guess, just starting to be a thing. Was having different virtual desktops. This is a feature in pretty much every major operating system today. Windows finally caught on with Windows 10. OS 10 has been doing it for a while, and Linux, of course, has been doing it for a while, because this is 1999 software right here, and we've got up to 4 virtual desktops. We can go right through and just change them. So I have multiple different workspaces, so that's pretty nice. And over here just looks like shortcuts. Yeah, so we've got the home folder to open up all your personal files. We've got a shortcut to Netscape Communicator. That'll give you a clue about how old this is. KDE Help, terminal emulation, and a mail client. So that's pretty awesome. So something interesting that I wanted to point out here, if you've seen my history of Windows 95 development video, in one of those Chicago builds that I took a look at, it had a interface very similar to this at the top, where it only had the maximize and the minimize buttons on the far right, and then on the left is where you would actually go to close the window. So we've got that same exact thing right here. We've got your maximize button and your minimize button on the right side, and then on the left side we have your close button. You would actually have to click on this menu and go to close. There's a build that I took a look at in that video that had pretty much the same exact thing. They had the maximize and the minimize buttons on the right, and the close was still in the Windows 3.1 style menu on the left. So that's very, very interesting that was also I guess, visual style that was used in some other operating systems as well. It wasn't just Microsoft that was experimenting with it. So that is pretty cool. So we've got this menu here where it contains all of your different window options. And this is your like file browser. So if we go to help, and I think we took a look at this about menu in here, but so this is where that you would go in to browse all your files. So let's see if we can go to the root. Let's go to files. So yeah, these are all of like the root system files. You can go in and browse them. I mean, it's just pretty basic file manager. I mean, what do you expect? It'll browse the files, let you make new folders, go to different areas on the hard drive. Yeah, so that is pretty nice. So I just opened up the display properties window by right-clicking and going to display properties here, and I'm gonna see if that opens up. And because there's a lot of windows that are kind of going off the screen. So here's our display settings right here, and I mean, you can see how it kind of like the whole window does not display. I'm gonna try to go to, I opened up 2 of them. We'll close out of this one. I'm gonna try to go, is there style? Look at that, draw widgets in the style of Windows 95. Menu bar on top of screen in style of Mac OS. What does that do? Okay, so that brings... Okay, I get what that does. So that brings like literally like a Mac OS style. Yeah, the whole menu bar is now on top of the screen. Yeah, so basically what that did is it brought, basically just like it says, just like in Mac OS where the menu bar was at the very top of the screen at all times, it takes the menu bar off of the individual windows and brings them to the top of the screen. So they had like some options to where if you were used to a certain way that the operating system worked, like if you were used to using Mac OS, I assume you could very easily get comfortable with this, because you could very easily just go in and enable that setting, and then it's like, hey, it's pretty much just like Mac OS. All your options are right up here in the same area. So that's pretty awesome. I didn't see any like resolution options in there. I don't know where you go to, maybe it's just not showing up on the screen. Can we go ahead and move this? Yeah, I'm not seeing it there. The display settings, all this is just like personalization options. So you can go in and change your background. This button right here. Okay, so also like in Mac OS, honestly, or Mac OS 9, I think Mac OS 8 and 9, I know that version 9 had it, but that little pop-out menu with all of those, I think it was like a launcher kind of that same style here. You can have this, popped out and go in. So definitely some visual cues from Mac OS that are being implemented into this, which is pretty cool. Honestly, that is really all that I have to say about this. I could go into like every little application and every little detail, but that would just take way too long. So that's basically the gist of OpenLinux. That's the install process. Unfortunately, it would not work on real hardware, but it's pretty cool that we can actually take a look at it and see what Linux was like in 1997, or I guess 1999. That is what this specific version is, from 1999, but this whole project with Caldera OpenLinux started in 1997. So this is what Linux looked like about 20 years ago. Yeah, 2 decades ago would be when this when this project first started. So that is pretty cool. I guess a little bit of a blast from the past. I don't know how many people actually use this in 1997. If you use this, or if you had a lot of experience with this, be sure to drop me a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this, if you guys have actually used this, if you know someone who did use it. But that's pretty much it for me. I'm gonna go ahead and just shut this down. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, definitely sure to give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe down below if you want to see more videos like this in the near future. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.